Hey everybody, welcome back to CineFix. Today we are talking to Ari Aster. His film Hereditary opens this week, June 8th. It is a fascinating film, and we got to talk to him about one of the films that inspired Hereditary, which is The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. We talked a lot about the visual style of both films, as well as specifically how to design a really good opening shot. Thank you very much for being here, man. First of all, congratulations. Hereditary is a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Like a lot of weird, spooky fun.
Thank you.
So tell us just a little bit about the movie to start with.
Well, you know, when I was pitching the film, I was describing it as a family tragedy that curdles into a nightmare in the same way that life can feel like a nightmare when tragedy strikes, especially in succession, when it rains, it pours.
But in the meantime, we want to talk about one of the movies that was a big influence for you, which is The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. But this is a movie from what, the late 80s?
I think it's 89, 90.
Yeah. And what is it just in general about this movie that you really like?
This is a film that I saw when I was really young. I was like too young. I was like 12 or 13. Yeah. And I remember hearing that it upset my dad, and movies don't upset my dad. He's not affected by them. But I remember him telling me that this one really bothered him. So I found a way to sneak it from the video store. I think I slipped it into
Captain Ron or something.
Yeah, like Encino Man or something. And then I snuck it out and I watched it, and then I instantly regretted it, and I regretted it for many years. It's not, I guess, technically a horror film, but it is so deeply upsetting. I know that it was an influence on me, and I can't really imagine making a horror film without thinking about The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover.
Well, and this gets into what I want to talk about today, is just the visual style of Hereditary and of The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. There's something interesting that happens in Cook and the Thief that it feels a lot like you're watching a play.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, and that's the way that it's set up, and even down to the lens choice. So I got some clips that we can look at. One of the clips I want to look at because I thought that the opening shot of this film, to me, reminded me of the opening shot in your film, in that it's very sort of slow and deliberate, and a really interesting way to get into the world of the story. It's a lengthy shot, obviously, and it starts on the dogs chewing on whatever that is.
Meat.
Just hunks of meat. And the sound effects here is just
Yeah.
But here, when it starts to move, is where it starts to get really interesting. And I just wanted you to talk about how a shot like this can get you into a movie, and just in how you design the opening shot of a film.
This opening is interesting because it begins with animals eating meat, and I feel like that's a pretty potent metaphor for what the movie ends up being about. I feel like he's very much reducing people to animals who are driven by their base instincts. And here you do have the camera booming up on a crane, and it's very stately.
Even pulling back those curtains.
Even pulling back the curtains, it is very theatrical, and and the symmetry is immediately apparent. And then there is the artifice of the image, where this is clearly, everything is built, the colors are incredibly controlled and heightened, and there is this nightmare aesthetic.
But yeah, and just in terms of Hereditary also, the opening shot is a really interesting one where, and just in terms of thinking of how to so deliberately establish a feel from the very first shot of the film.
It is a shot that is, very, from clearly an omniscient perspective, which I think gives some clue as to how the film is going to be feeling. Even though we're with these people in Hereditary, and we're with them in their ignorance of what's going on, what's really happening, there is also this the feeling that we're watching everything from a more knowing, sadistic perspective. The dollhouses in the film, for me, serve as a metaphor for what's going on with the family. These are people who have no agency, and in the end, they are like dolls in a dollhouse. I did want to establish that in the first shot.
This film is full of a lot of transitional shots. like
Yeah.
this, that are all kind of from this perspective. There's nothing realistic about this.
No. You have the costumes by Jean-Paul Gaultier that are,
That are really cool.
Beautiful.
And even a little kid singing opera in the background.
yeah, but his voice is so upsetting. It's very beautiful and very haunting. And yeah, these lateral tracking shots are, I mean, I love them. There's something, so upsetting to me about the level of artifice in this film. I can't say what it is. But then also, you know, when people walk from this room to the bathroom later on, the color of their costumes go from red and black to white.
Yeah.
And the bathroom is white, which has a very nightmarish effect. Here he's playing with like all sorts of Brechtian distancing effects, from Sacha Vierny's like sickly theatrical lighting to obviously what he's doing with the costumes, but ultimately they're like what you're left with beyond like how highly aestheticized the film and how, you know, brilliant the aesthetic is. What you're left with is Greenaway's like wholesale disgust with like the human race.
No, you don't eat it like that. Let me show you. Oh, imagine you are sucking the little fingers of a lady, or... Well, no, you wouldn't understand that, since you would never get that close to a lady.
Thanks so much. Again, Hereditary is coming out soon, June 8th, and I'm going to make sure everybody goes to see it if I can.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you.